Aha, here we are.
Good morning to our co-host in the UK. It's Priti, Pauline. Our guest today is from the UK as well. I say good morning because that's exactly what's happening over there in the UK. It's 10 o'clock in the morning on summertime. We in Australia, of course, it's now gone past 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock in the West, and just gone past 9 o'clock at night for those over the ditch in New Zealand. More importantly, you can stay tuned to the show. You can watch it afterwards on iHeartRadio, Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. You can go on the website, radiofm88.com.au. The shows are all there. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand it straight over to Priti. So it's a good evening from us, and it's a good morning to you.
And lovely to be here again. Thank you very much, Jeff. It's great to be here, and it's very nice for me to introduce you to John Gilbert, who has a fairly colourful history. And he started his working life in mental health as a psychiatric nurse. So probably familiar with all the craziness that's going on and can easily pinpoint an awful lot of irregularities, shall we say. And then he went on to be an RAF engineer, so very technical and physical and precise work. Some boat building he's done in the past, and maybe I think it would have been about 6 or 7 years ago that he and I first met, when it came to well, what shall I say, just giving me some advice about the whole COVID situation and the legalities of it. And of course, he's one of the founding members of CABI, which is an acronym that we use for the Community Assembly of the British Isles. So welcome, John. Thank you very much for joining us. You've got there it is. Yay! Community Assembly of the British Isles. Are you ready to make a difference? So, John, are you ready to make a difference?
Me? I've always been ready.
Ever ready.
Ever ready, that's me.
So, how did all this come about, and how did your background lay a very good foundation for where we are now with the community assemblies of the British Isles?
I don't think it lays a foundation at all. I was never spiritual. I'm not a sort of spiritual person, and I think we call them downloads these days, but it was quite a shock when I started getting messages that they were coming through visually to start with, and then I started getting more and more detail. And I was sitting in a meeting one day because we decided to start this community, and we were in a meeting of 9 people, and 2 of them were mediums. They were actually happy mediums, but I've never seen one else before. And then we had 2 were empaths, and it was like, do you know what it's like when before a thunderstorm, you feel all this electricity around you? And we felt that, and messages started coming through as if we were channeling them. And I was sitting there wondering why on earth people were crying and rejoicing and goodness knows what else, because I wasn't getting anything, but I was getting the messages through these people, and that was when I realised, no, I'm not really I'm not really that sort of person at all. I can't channel properly, but somehow I seem to be able to pick up the messages, and so. How we were going to lay out the community assemblies, what we had to get to, but they didn't tell me the structure of it. And when we first started, now this was probably at the beginning, Pauline, when we had the community assemblies were being attacked heavily. So we had a lot of people trying to take us down, trying to stop us progressing. And from that experience, we were then able to work out the system which we've got now, which is doing everything with the power of 3. So to start a community assembly, you have to have 3 people in agreement to be able to do it. Yeah, we've progressed since then, but they took us. We'd gone to 173 community assemblies, and they took us right back to just 4. You probably remember that time anyway, Pauline, don't you? And there was just about everybody was hitting us. So we've worked our way back up now. We've got 227 in the British Isles now, but we've got others around the world as well. So it's starting to pick up again nicely now, but we could have been way further on had we not received all that other people's opinions saying that we weren't the right people.
And time has proven otherwise.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I think what we're doing now is we've got the right people now. One of the things that we've definitely done is picking up the right people along the way. And this is about sharing. This is not, I don't like the limelight terribly much. And I've got to control my sense of humor sometimes because it gets a little bit out of hand. But the people you know that. The people that we've got coming in now are absolutely fabulous, incredible people. And that is growing virtually every day now. I keep talking to more and more people who are coming in and coming through. And I mean, one of the things that you've got there, you can actually see the website that's there. It's an incredible website. And Sue created all of that from scratch. There was no AI or nothing else that came into that. She's done it all herself. And we've got other people at the moment that are very good at writing. Other people that have suddenly caught on to what it is we're trying to do, and they're stepping in. Unfortunately, you know, it's giving me a little bit of a respite. So I'm actually going to get a holiday this year.
Oh,
holiday on the cheap. Holiday on the cheap. It's costing me £143.
Is it in England or abroad?
No, it's Bulgaria.
Ah, very nice. Very nice.
There's a lot going on there.
Even in Bulgaria, are there community assemblies being established there as well?
Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We do know a lot of people in Bulgaria now, and our public health are mentioning this, but one of our constables here who's already trained to be adjudicator as well in the courts is Bulgarian. So I'm not going to mention any names.
Okay, fair enough. And when you talk about the concept and the idea of community assembly seems to be spreading, you've got some other worldwide connections. Is that Australia, Malta, New Zealand? Where else are community assemblies springing up?
Canada, America. Just talked to the Bahamas. I think it was St. Lucia. We're just now talking to also to South Africa.
Okay, South Africa.
Yeah. So, but there's more people talking. There's more people taking up the ideas. We get a lot of traffic in from Russia and Canada. So if they're reading it, I don't mind. Go ahead and use it.
Yeah. All right. And what do you think has spurred this on?
I think it was time for change, Pauline.
Okay.
Yeah. It's we've had it before. People have been trying to set up parallel communities before, but for some reason this time it's nothing to do with me. I just sit here and press the buttons. But there's a lot of people that are taking this up now, and it's really starting to wake up a lot of communities. I think it's give us another 6 months, and I honestly think that we are talking about a tsunami of interest.
Right.
If I may interrupt, haven't you guys got local council elections today?
Oh yes, on Thursday. Yes, we do. Yeah.
To be
And
honest,
one of the things,
no, I never heard of it. Never heard of it.
never heard of it.
You got
You're
5,000.
right.
You got 5,000 council elections on in England, Scotland, and Wales today.
Yeah, I'll tell you something about those. If people actually vote for those, they're voting in a 30% increase in council tax. So how they're going to get people to vote for that, I've no idea.
Well, then
And
people
one of the
move the existing personnel, won't they?
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you have a look at Italy and Damaha, that community over there, when they moved into that area and then people got attracted to it, they then got into local politics and got to the point that they now run the local council.
Yeah, we're not into politics. We want to start something new. We're not interested in the system as it is or changing the system. When the system's broken, you might as well come up with something new and see if that works. So far, that is starting to work. So, yeah, I'd like to give the power back to the people.
All right. Okay. And one of the things that you talked to me about some time ago was removing oneself from the electoral register. What was that all about?
Right. What they're claiming is that legislation is law, but legislation is only law if it's consented to. How are they finding out whether people are consented to it? And it goes back to 1703. There was a case, Ashby versus White, in 1703, where they actually said, "Oh, have I got that there? Yes, I have. By the common law of England, every commoner hath a right not to be subjected to laws made without their consent." Now, that is all well and good, but a little bit later it actually says, and because laws made without their consent, and because it cannot be given by every individual man in person, by reason of number and confusion, therefore, that power is lodged in their representatives elected by them for that purpose. So if you take part in the electoral process, what you're actually doing is you're giving away or giving your consent to those people to act on your behalf. Well, that seems reasonable enough, but what you've done is you've actually given up the very thing which is yours by nature, which is the ability to resist laws which are not beneficial to you. So by taking yourself off the electoral register, you remove yourself from that process. And then what happens is that people who are trying to enforce legislation then have to prove that you consent to that as being law. Now, this is actually true in almost every country. So when you get rid of legislation and go back to law, everything becomes much simpler. They're creating legislation like nobody's business. And they really want people to believe that legislation is law. A silly thing, I know, because we're all subjected to it. There are such things as speeding fines. If you go above a certain speed, going through a certain area, which they've designated, you've got to drive at 20 miles an hour through this area. The problem there is that you get people that are so worried about their speed, they're not driving like this, they're driving like that. They're looking down at their speedometer, and they're constantly following the speedometer. Now, at 20 miles an hour, you can travel very, very quickly. You can travel the length of 2 buildings. So if somebody were to walk out into the street at that time, you're going to hit them. You're not paying attention to the road. We think that there shouldn't be, everybody should be bound by natural law to do no harm. So if you do that, then if you're going to do 22 miles an hour, so what? You're going to do 30 miles an hour if it's safe to do it, so what? What they're doing is they're introducing laws and legislation which really to the detriment of the people, not to the benefit of them. So how can you get around that? I don't know. It's a difficult one. Are you going to trust people to do the right thing? Always be under natural law. So when they join us, they swear to natural law, but they also swear not to follow legislation. So we go back to law again. And was any harm done? Yeah. Okay, right. Well, you've got to make recompense for that. Was no harm done? Well, why are we bothering if there was no? Yeah.
No harm. Okay. So that's the council elections, and that even Theresa May in this country repeated many, many times that we only govern with consent.
That's the whole of the Commonwealth. That's the whole of the Commonwealth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that includes Australia as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all by consent. We can't do anything other than by consent, and this is why the community assemblies are set up the way that they are. We are the member, the ordinary member, is the highest in the community assembly. Then you got facilitators who set up meetings, try to get the information for those members to be able to put before them. They are servants of the people, so they've come down a notch. And then we've got regional facilitators who come down lower still. They're the servants of the people. And then when you get to me, I'm lower than the pig's belly. I've got to ask for everything that I'm doing. I can't do any. I have to ask the members, what do you think? And it's putting the emphasis back where it's supposed to be, on the people themselves. We've got so used to not doing anything. Do you know, when we first started the voting system, we were lucky to get 17 to 20% of the people actually voting. And the last vote we had, it was 94%. People are starting to do it. Yeah, they're starting to realize that they have the ability, and it doesn't matter if I say, well, we should be doing this, and the membership say no. It doesn't matter to me. The wonderful thing to me is that they've actually voted. They've actually expressed their opinion, and that's what the voting system is all about. People are saying, "Oh, well, we shouldn't be doing voting." Yes, we should. Let's get people. Let's get people expressing their opinion and overall taking control of their lives.
Okay, in the community assembly, if you look back at the website, there's quite considerable areas. It's quite a broad spectrum of aspects of people's lives that you're looking through. If we look at the top there, what have we got? I'll have to see it myself. You talk about the group directory, all the different things, the health initiative, the health directory, the trade directory, and different resources. So can you talk us a little bit through the framework of the community assemblies? Because here we've got law courts, peace services, and assembly hubs. To some people, this may be a brand new concept, even if you've been working with them for 8 years or more.
Yeah. You've got to remember that Cornwall is a country. And
now that's something perhaps many people don't even know that. Tell me about that so that we can tell everyone else.
Not a lot of people know that. That came from a film, didn't it?
Not a lot of people know that. Yeah.
The 1508. Well, Cornwall's always been a country on its own. It was originally, if you go right back, it was known as the Isle of Tins, and
Isle of Tins.
Sorry, Tin. And it's, I suppose you could have thought really with the Tamar there, and it's so wide that approaching it from one side, you would have thought it was an island. But the Cornish got a little bit fed up with the English in 1497, and we did a very naughty thing, because you cannot invade another country. So an awful lot of the Cornish invaded England, and they had to have the wrist slapped for that. So we became a country in occupation and had to pay war reparations. Obviously, we didn't win; otherwise, things would have turned out differently. And war reparations, we had to raise an awful lot of money. Well, it would have been a lot of money back then. And that was done in 1508, when we could actually pay those war reparations off, and we became a country again. Now, the thing with that was that that agreement with Henry VII actually gave us a lot more power than we had previously. So it was recognized then we did not have to accept legislation from Westminster, for instance, unless what's known as the 24, it's the 24 representatives of Cornwall, unless those 24 actually voted for it and passed it. Now, we don't know of any legislation that was voted that way, but it's always a possibility that it did. But we know that from 1753 it couldn't possibly have happened because nothing's been put before the 24 from that date onwards. So it means that Cornwall has a unique position. Now, if you go back to 936 AD, there's something in that date, by the way, 936. 936 AD, Cornwall was very much bigger than it is now. It included Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, and Dorset, and actually it would have included Avon as well, almost certainly. So, and parts of Wiltshire. Now, that means that really there's historical precedence for setting up a community which is of an indigenous people, because you know that all the people in that area are unique in many respects, and even you can hear, I'm definitely a West Country accent there, and they call it a West Country accent. So we registered an indigenous population within Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, and Dorset just over 2 years ago, and that has not been challenged in any way, and they had a year and a day to challenge it. Nobody ever did. So that now has been registered as an indigenous population. So we are allowed now to extend Cornwall into those areas, which means that we can do things like placing a jurisdiction within that area. So jurisdiction actually means that if you go back a long way now to Alfred the Great, a jurisdiction, if you put if as an area you can put 300 people together, as they say, shoulder to shoulder. In other words, you can feel 300 people who can help with the defense of the realm. So we now get certain privileges, and one of those is jurisdiction. We can claim our own jurisdiction. We can have our own constables. We can have our own courts. This sort of thing. So it does allow us certain things. So we've got now Devon, which is very, very close to having its own jurisdiction. It's maybe only a couple of weeks away from having enough people to have its own courts and have its own. Well, they're not actually judges. We call them judicators, because the courts are actually run by the courts are actually run by the people. It's the jury. You can have a jury between 13 people, and let's say between 13 and 22. That's not quite right, because it's always going to be an odd number. So it'd be 30, inclusive of 13 and 21 people to form the jury. So we're taking it all the way back to where it was before, and the court, the jury actually runs the whole court. The jury can stop, and it's sui juris as well, because the people come and represent themselves, and they are questioned by the jury, and they give their own accounts of what's happened. So it's a different system in a way, but it puts the power back to the people. There's no control over this again. So a adjudicator is only there to make sure that the people are following reasonable guidelines. They're not people are not getting bullied. Also, it's known as court-ounder, which is court of fairness. So if you've got someone who's not terribly eloquent, non-Cornish, I'm Cornish, I can speak for Cornwall, and if you've got somebody who's not terribly eloquent, the adjudicator can come in and help that person to put their point of view across, and then the jury can then come ask more questions. So the adjudicator has to be almost an arbitrator, and it's bringing back fairness into the courts. It's not saying you've got to do this or you've got to do that. It's saying, did you do any harm? Can you make amends? What would the person who's been harmed, what would they accept as being a reasonable settlement? I don't mean money. It could be that somebody's getting help. It doesn't need to be money. So all of this is starting to come about now, and Devon is about to hit that mark there. Somerset is working hard to get there. Dorset is pulling up their skirts and running with it. So as that comes into play, so then we're looking to other areas of the British Isles, because Yorkshire's an example of this. Why is it Yorkshire not counted as a country of its own? I mean, it's got 7.6 million people. Yeah. Scotland's 7.2, yet Scotland is considered a country, and Yorkshire isn't. And Yorkshire's got a very unique people there as well. So we have to look at all these things. Yorkshire should be able to do the same and register itself as its own territory.
So it will be maybe a whole new landscape, a whole new way of looking at the British Isles is what's on the cards from what you've said.
Yes, give people their rights to do what they want to do, and it will even out. It will all even out. I control absolutely nothing. All I'm doing is collecting the information with other people, and we're putting it into that wonderful the website that we have there. It's overpowering almost in the amount of information that we've collected, and we've got an awful lot more as well. I mean, a lot of historical documents have come our way as well. We've had a lot of people helping us. We've had a lot of people in the background helping us, but there are people now that are joining us who are well and truly on a path to putting the power back to the people again.
Right. So history is really laying the foundations of living in a new way. Because is that because we've just deviated from it, or because there's just so much legislation no one could possibly be a law-abiding person anymore?
No one can be, not with the amount of legislation. Legislation is a horror. You've got legislation for everything. I mean, if you sneeze, there's probably a legislation to cover it. Well, there is now, and you've got to wear a mask, haven't you? Legislation is the death of democracy. We need to go back to law.
Okay, well, that's a pretty powerful message to send to people.
Well, we've become masters of limitation, haven't we, John?
Yeah, I grew up with it.
If we can find a way.
The Aurora. Carry on, Jeff.
Yeah, carry on. You go.
The Aurora Network. How does that runs alongside all the other networks that you've got going on? How did that come to pass?
Because I'm so rubbish at trying to discern, the spiritual side of things. I needed people to help me do that. And yeah, we've got some very, very high, you would call them high frequency people, I think, but we've got some very, very knowledgeable and spiritual people, and we are founded on part of what we do. Well, half of what we do is spiritual anyway, and we need those people. So it was really a loose combination of people who could talk to each other in words that they can understand, or even talk to each other without words. We've got people who can communicate without talking to each other. Definitely, they can happen. As experience, I've experienced it once myself, where two of us were talking and suddenly realized that she was talking for me, saying my words, and I was saying her words, and we just fell about laughing. It just seemed so incongruous. It just so ridiculous. But that's what it is. It's not. There's no joining the Aurora Network. You just are a part of it. You fall into it. So people will work spiritually as well. We've done a thing called a letter to all, which is a lot of people overlook that one, but it lays out how our organisation works spiritually, and we send that out to every time we write to the council, every time we write to the police, we include that there as well, so that they know what we are about and what we're doing.
So you are navigating and merging the spiritual and the physical and non-physical.
Yes.
Is that a fair assessment?
That's absolutely spot on. It's better than I could put it, Pauline.
It sounds like you're going back to the Druid days before the Romans invaded England.
Yeah, it was, the Druids were actually a very spiritual, very kindly people. Things operated a little bit differently back then. And it's where the name Merlin came from as well. We think of Merlin as a bloke with a white beard that lived in a cave. And Merlin actually was a person a man, because it was back in those days, the women ran things. Well, why not? We didn't have any wars back then, did we? And the Merlins went out as entertainers, and they picked up information as they were going around, and they would come back and bring that information back, so that we had good governance. So things were different. Things were very much more civilized back then. Even down in Cornwall, when people were from Greece were coming to Cornwall, obviously for the tin, during the Bronze Age and this sort of thing. Cornwall was known as a very civilized country, but we still carried on the same things we were. We didn't have really the king. If we had a king, there's no record of being a king as far as I can see, but if we had one, that person would be a servant of the people. It was all for the people. So there's no reason why we can't go back to that. It's inbred into us. We're there. We have memories of that if we only tap into them.
Hey, the English royal family, isn't one of them the Queen or the Princess Catherine, the Duchess of Cornwall?
Duchess of Cornwall?
Yeah.
Okay, Cornwall's not a duchy.
Right. Who's got that job then?
So you can't have a duchess when there isn't a duchy. So maybe she's a duchy of somewhere else. They talk about the Duke of Cornwall when they talk about the Duchy of Cornwall, but it actually doesn't exist. Yeah. If you look at the Duchy of Cornwall, it only relates to about 2% of Cornwall, which means it's their lands that they own in Cornwall. The Duchy of Cornwall actually is anywhere but Cornwall.
Oh. So geographically, where is it then?
Devon, Somerset, even right up to London.
Yeah, Camille's got the title, mate. I'm just looking up.
Yeah, she's got the title. She's welcome to it.
Oh, hang on a sec. Change that. No, buddy, Catherine got it on September the 8th, 2022, when Prince William became the heir apparent.
Yeah.
All right.
So there isn't a duchy and there isn't a monarchy looking over Cornwall. Is that right?
We don't have one. No, we have a parliament, which is the Sunnery Parliament, and but there's a lot of deception been going on over the years that's persuading people that Cornwall is not a country. Where when I was a youngster, that was probably back in the Boer War, I had my grandfather telling me off one day because I called it a county.
Oh.
I got murder from that, and I never forgot that lesson. But we all knew back then. Everybody knew back then, and your grandfather would pass on the information to you from their knowledge. They would pass to their grandsons or grandchildren, and then you would always miss a generation, and then that would mean that you didn't dilute the information too much there. So you always pass it on and pass it down. So that's how information was passed along.
There you go.
Wow. There we go. The title is derived from the Duchy of Cornwall, established in 1337 by King Edward III. The Black Prince.
In 1508, it was dismantled.
Right.
Okay, so you have to sort of move on. So they kept trying to take Cornwall over, and the Cornish can be a bit bloody minded. I'll accept that one. Yeah, I know a few Australians that would fit very well down here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, do you know I had a sat nav, which was an Australian sat nav, and I got caught out so many times with the sat nav. I was going down a road one day and it said Chuckayui, mate, and I thought, I don't know of anywhere called Chuckayui. Where am I going to? Have I taken the wrong turn somewhere? It took me about half an hour to realise that what they were saying was take a U-turn, Chuckayui.
That's right.
Chuckayui.
You got it.
Very good, very good. The Peacekeepers initiative that you've got with the community assemblies, can you tell us, elaborate on it? What's that all about, the Peacekeepers? So they're not policemen, or they're Peacekeepers? What do? Do they act like a policeman? What's the correlation?
No, not really. We're there to keep the peace.
Okay.
Peacekeepers Peacekeepers is a group formed by Mark Horn, and I met Mark Horn on a Cornish beach, and by the time we walked across that beach once, we were completely aligned with each other, and we've been using much of in fact we use his peacekeeper training to start the training going for our constables, peacekeepers and constables. So a peacekeeper, we had an international agreement on how we would set up the way that courts would run, and the way that our peace constables would operate, and how the whole system, the peace system, would operate. So that was done right in the very early days, and so we the thing with it is that it doesn't matter what country you go to, the system would be the same. So a peacekeeper would be the equivalent of a deputy sheriff, and a constable is our equivalent of a sheriff. And much to my dislike, of course, We couldn't call ourselves sheriffs because I would have liked a tin star, a Stetson hat, and a couple of 6 guns. I could have done wonders with that sort of thing, you know. But I got to be a constable, unfortunately.
Yeah, you do what you like. It'd be great. I'd love to see you in a Stetson and a tin badge. You know, sheriff comes to town. Sheriff John Gilbert. Here we are. Let's go for it. You can dress up.
The Americans have stayed that way. I did one day, and then I decided not to be a cowboy because there was cowboys and Indians, and it did say Indians. Everybody was going to cowboys, so I borrowed this. I borrowed my wife's bolero and the bolero top, and then we had she had a skirt which I cut down the side and a couple of flip flops, and I managed to get a feather from somewhere, so I went as an Indian and got best prize. Never want to stay around with the rest of the crowd.
And what would you say was the principle that the peacekeepers operate under? Is that the same as what you were talking about? Do no harm, and make reparation if harm has been done.
Peacekeeping. Why take them to court when you can solve a problem? And if sometimes it just takes somebody to stand between two people and say, okay, let's work this out. So the first line of defense is the peacekeeper. They're the ones that deal mainly with the public and sort out problems. And if they can't solve that problem, then they go to the constables, because the constables will be the equivalent of the sheriff, and they will go in then and try to make sure that there is a resolution there. And if there is absolutely no resolution, then they will need to call a court, and the constables call the court. And very often the constables are also adjudicators, so they will run the court as well. But we've only used it in the 4 years that we've been doing this. We've only used the courts twice. Okay. I think that's a pretty good record of keeping the peace, to be honest with you.
And just as an example, choose one of them. What was that about?
Well, actually, it was nothing to do with our people. Yeah. This was to do with 3 councillors who were acting fraudulently, and nobody was taking them to task over it, and we took them to task over it, and they were sacked. There was also one, on one case, there was a company who was literally defrauding people all over the place. Not to go into too deep a detail on it, but they were making a fortune over it. Funnily enough, those 3 councillors were also involved in that as well, but it turned out to be two court cases, and the company was closed down. So we did get a result over it, and but we're not trying to fight the police. The police have a job to do, and if they stick to their job, then everything is fine. We're happy to let them keep the law intact, but what's happening is that they're not going by the law; they're going by legislation, and this is the problem that they've got. We have an agreement down here in Cornwall, and it actually works extremely well. But every now and again, you get one group of police coming in who are rogues, and they shouldn't be down here. So we still have some problems down here, but bit by bit, we keep the police informed of what's going on within the community assemblies, because not consenting to legislation, of course, there can be a little bit of conflict between the two. So by working together, no problems. We were down where were we? Cambourne, and there was 4 of us walking the streets down in Cambourne, and just introducing ourselves to the local people. And yeah, I know where it is. And the police, somebody must have phoned the police. The police came up through in their car. I waved to the police, they waved back, and they carried on. They know who we are, and they know we're not trying to fight them or to stir up any trouble. We're just trying to make sure that people have their best interest taken care of, so that they can't be bullied. Do you remember going back a bit when they had these what were they called again? COVID wardens. You remember that?
COVID wardens.
Yeah, the
I've never heard of
councils
it.
were employing COVID wardens to go down the main streets and make sure that people were wearing their masks inside of the shops and things like this. So we followed them around, and then every time they overstepped their mark, we would point out to them that they'd done that. And I think it was about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and they stopped doing it. And the other thing was that we supplied people with health and safety leaflets that showed exactly what they had to do within their shop. And as long as they followed that, COVID wardens didn't stand a chance. So that's one of the things that the peacekeepers did. The peacekeepers now are fighting court cases, I know, but again, it's councils who are overstepping the mark, and they're winning their cases.
Because it's obvious, is it?
It is obvious, yes.
Okay.
So Jeremy Clarkson needs to find these guys and take out the West Oxford Council, eh?
Yeah, there was one couple that were chucked in prison for not paying their council tax. You've got to consent to pay council tax, but they chucked them into prison. Really and truthfully, the police raided. I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning that they raided their house. And they're going to have to answer for it at some point. And there are things in there. I got somebody who's knocking on the door now. Can you take over for a few minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The benefits going live.
Yeah.
That is it, isn't it? Yeah. We can't stop people knocking on the door. Anyway, there's an awful lot to be said about the community assemblies and how they've come into existence, and they've come from history. They've come from things that were fair in the past, and that now we've just bombarded with so much legislation that you don't know if, I think the expression in engineering is, you don't know if you're punch drawn or countersunk, something to do with screws, but you're being screwed whatever it is.
Right.
So there is a lot to be said about the jurisdiction. I wanted to ask John about that he talks about how we can claim our local jurisdiction and build a future where Earth is truly home to all of us, free from constraints of the old system. So how do we claim our local jurisdiction? It seems that Cornwall is in a unique position to be able to claim it because of historical facts of King Henry and those sorts of things. But for us, perhaps for other people, how would they go about claiming their local jurisdiction? And then we start to build from that for ourselves in local communities.
Well, it's historical facts in Cornwall. It's probably hysterical facts everywhere else. The way to claiming jurisdiction is to go back far enough where you've got this 300, where you put these 300 people together. So if you've got 300 people, you can't do it on the internet. It won't work. Right. You've got to have 300 people standing shoulder to shoulder, going to meetings and deciding on their future that way. When you can do that, then you can claim your right to jurisdiction. That jurisdiction has never been removed. It's just been buried. So you can, and that's being taken up all over the world now. People are starting to take that up at 300. Actually, it's 300, 600, because at 600 you can claim the right to your own territory. So you can be a territory within a country. This is a right which has never been taken away from us. We're allowed to do it. The getting those 300 people together doesn't sound very much, because we're used to the internet, aren't we? You know, there's 53,000 people on there, you know, all looking at their site. That wouldn't work at all. We've got to have 300 people committed to running their community assemblies, running their local governance, combining their knowledge together. We've got a lot of people who are very, very talented people, incredibly talented people. When we talk about the meek shall inherit the earth, yeah, this is definitely, these people definitely deserve to inherit the earth, because they don't want anything for themselves. So getting 300 people like that is very difficult to do. It's not an easy task. Devon is 30 people off now.
Right.
Yeah, so they're very close to it. Somerset is working ways of doing it at the moment, and they are gradually growing that way. Dorset is coming on. Dorset is, there has been a group, there's been a sudden surge just recently, because there's been another group which has joined themselves into the assemblies in Dorset, and we've asked some of our facilitators to step down to allow their people to come in, so that we can form different groups. But there's these people that we're talking about now in the community assemblies, not me, these other people. There's no ego there whatsoever. They will always find a way around something, and I've got the greatest admiration for all of these people. They're doing wonderful work, and that's how they can claim their jurisdiction. Of course, they can claim it that way. They have to remember to leave their own jurisdiction. We've also got a trust which people can use as well, and that trust was put together by one bloke in Australia and a couple of blokes in New Zealand. So the Anzacs came together, and they've produced a trust which is known as the Creator's Trust, because a settler or grantor, whatever you're going to call the chief trustee, is God. It's the Creator.
Right.
And there's evidence for it. I mean, they went right through the Bible and they picked out all the evidence for it, that God should be the grantor of every private trust. Now, it's been tried, it's been tested. Nobody really wants to challenge it. And it's something that we can give away, virtually give away. We ask for a £10 donation, that's it, for a private trust, and it's all done for people. So we can offer things like that. But I just want people to come in with their hearts open. And if they come in with their hearts open, that's different, because we've got the right people doing everything then. So if we have a mixture of people that just want things for themselves, no, that's not going to work for us. We've got to have people. You can't give anything away. I mean, if I try to give you money, it's going to come back in again. There's an expression down here in Cornwall that the tide don't go out but comes back in again. If you try to give things away, it always comes back to you in one way or another. So if we've got people that just want to do that, just want to actually, I'm going to just, right. I had a light on here because the sun was shining through so strong. If you've got people that are helping others, constantly helping others, and some of them are wearing themselves out sometimes, people who are constantly helping others, then what they get back is they get back tenfold. I don't say in money, but what they get back is tenfold. And yeah, we've got so many people like that. You know, I might be on the phone at 7 o'clock in the morning, trying to shave at the same time.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've got lots of people that are talking, going to meetings. I've got to go up and do a wedding. I think it's in July. Not my wedding. No one would have me. Oh, tears? No.
Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, I'm not going to get any sympathy from Jeff, that's for sure.
What's your expression? Is it "I do, yes, dear"? Isn't that the whole concept of marriage from Jeff?
I do, yeah.
I do, yes, dear.
Yeah, I'll remember that one.
Yeah, it's very good. I remember it too. John, is there something particular about the number 300?
No,
maybe you've said it and I've missed it. I haven't picked up on it.
No, it wasn't. It was just 300 was considered a reasonable number of people in a county, in order to, or a county or an area of the British Isles, which we didn't really have counties back then. It made a reasonable small part of an army that, when put together with other areas of the British Isles, made a considerable difference to the standing army. So these were people who were going out. They were territorials. They're a basic form of territorial. So they were going out and training and doing things, and because of that, then they got these privileges.
Right.
Well, I mean, the British haven't got a navy anymore, have they?
Why have you sunk it?
Apparently, you guys have just don't rule the seas anymore, mate.
Oh well, that's okay. I don't swim very well anyway. I don't know if we've got an army and an air force anymore, to be honest.
No.
It was diminishing its size when I was in, to be honest with you.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Do we need in a time of peace? I mean, we've really hit a time of peace now. We've still got areas of the world who are causing problems, but it's mainly to do with money. It's always to do with money. Because I've never met anybody who wants to kill somebody else. I mean, there must be people like that around, surely, but I've never met one. And I don't think we need more than a peacekeeping force anymore now. That's it. It's the day of the big army, I think, is gone.
Well, you know, you guys have had 007. He's got a license to kill. State sponsored.
License revoked.
Yes.
Every state's got them. Every country's got them. State-sponsored actors who do their job.
Yeah, I think that's the old system that's slowly disintegrating. I really don't think that system's going to last too long, but we don't want it to go down too quickly. Because if we actually didn't leave the system to get onto it to its own devices, if we tried to bring it down quickly, we would do a lot of harm to a lot of people. There's a lot of people that still need to collect money from the system. The system still needs money from the people. They must be coming from me. Did you hear that then?
Yeah.
We have the sirens going there.
Once his Cornish pasty, mate. He's off doing the
Yeah. The Cornish pasty, I'm sorry, but it hangs over the plates by 2 inches either side. That's the Cornish pasty.
I didn't know that.
Didn't you? You wait till the next time you come down here, Pauline. I'll make you a proper one.
Okay. All right. A proper Cornish pasty. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the idea of taking radical responsibility, is it only radical because we've digressed so far from natural law?
Yes. Yeah. If it's natural law, then the system is such that everybody takes part in that system.
Yep.
The whole idea is to do no harm, and this is again where we've been criticised because we won't go out and say to people, "Oh, you know, you've got to bring down your council and all this sort of things." Just stop voting, walk away. You don't need to do anything. Just stop voting. You know.
Just take you up on that. Just take you up on that. When you said before, don't vote for the council, but you actually mentioned that you actually give the representatives consent, and if they've got all these other people who have gone and voted, you haven't voted, but other members of your parish, of your county have, then you've tacitly given these representatives to go to legislation against you.
No. The people that vote for them have given them their consent. The people who don't vote for them haven't.
Nobody wants their name on the actual on the vote. They just go and tick, 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 put it in the box. So you don't really know who's actually voted it.
No. Most of them have no idea who they're voting for.
Well, in Australia, you go there to the registry roll and you step up to the polling booth, and the electoral officer rules your name out on the book to show that you've actually voted. I mean, although in Australia here, it's you have to vote.
By law, you have to vote
here
in Australia.
You're supposed to here because they're supposed to be able to fine you if you don't vote. But there again, we don't vote, and we don't pay the fine either.
Right. I mean, other people go and put Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and other names on the voting form.
Yeah. Tea leaf. Yeah, I know them all.
Yeah, good. Now, just ask you a really left field question then. You know, the whole society that we've been born and bred to live in, and that's, you know, when you do lose a job, you know, you're going to get some remuneration there to keep you living in sustenance. You know, if you put money into the pot, by the time you retire, you're going to get a pension for that, and then you might get a housing flat if you got to a point where you're really, really flat out. But all of a sudden, in the last 12 to 15 years, England, Australia, and New Zealand, we've seen these large migration of so-called refugees or economic refugees coming into the country, and they've been given instant housing remuneration packages that the local person who's worked all their life, all of a sudden, and it's been eroded. Your whole concept of buddy working together as a community is now being quite entered out. It's been eroded. So how is that going in Cornwall? I mean, I've heard of the government going to hotels there in Cornwall and say we want to have these there to take it up and we'll pay you. And I've heard some of the hoteliers said, no, we're not taking them on because we've got our existing clientele who come here for holidays.
Yeah. There's been a lot of resistance down here for that. Do you remember? Oh, well, you probably don't remember, but a few years ago they had the G7 conference down here. At the G7 conference, they brought thousands of police, armed police, and military down here to guard one hotel. What on earth were they doing? Do they trust us so little that they think that the whole of Cornwall is going to rise up and take out this one hotel? We resisted that as well, but we resisted it in a different way. The local people were taking pasties up to the soldiers and treating them to cream teas and things like this. It was very easy. I mean, they were still fat and full at the end of it. They couldn't move. So but it worked.
They were grounded, were they? Grounded in pasties.
That's right. Yeah. You'd be surprised what you can get into a pasty at that size.
Yeah. It's a shame they never sent the Glen Eagles Hotel down there in outside by Torquay, where the boys from John Cleese and Bill Oddie and Graham Chapman and all them, Michael Palin turned up at that hotel, which became the birthplace of Faulty Towers. They should have put it.
Oh, yes. Very British, very, very British.
We don't really take much on down here, to be honest with you. We've got our own way of doing things, and it's just a matter of, at the moment, we're no different to anybody else in the British Isles. The whole of the British Isles used to be very much the same way at one time. You couldn't push them around, and yet for some reason now people are being pushed around. So it's just getting our mojo back again.
Well, we've seen that with Jeremy Clarkson and his farm and what's going on there. I mean, it's shown right in front of everybody around the world how farmers, the lifeblood of any community, have just been segregated to the point that, I mean, in Australia here, a lot of farmers stop themselves off.
Yeah.
It's not a very pretty sight. And now the ones who actually create, they produce. That's the best thing. And when you start hammering the people who actually produce to the point that anybody who's got an academic sort of lifestyle who says, oh, you got to do that and do that, it's just terrible. It's terrible. But I have to say, there is some light in the end of the tunnel, mate. There's some light. Yeah. I've been working with Mr. Grok. That's Mr.
Yes.
AI Grok. Yeah. And of course, it's got a bit of a bent there towards engineering. You can ask a lot of engineering questions and, stuff like that, electrical stuff. You can talk about nuclear power. You can talk about a lot of things. Most important subject. I brought up the subject that on my walk in the morning, I met a teacher. She teaches grade 12, which is probably your last year high school in your place.
16-year-olds?
Yeah, exactly right. She failed 5 of her students on their paper because it was all AI driven. Yeah. I said, how did you know it was AI driven? Oh, we've got another software program that tells us it's AI driven. I said, is that right? So anyway, I took it to Grocky and I said, this is going to be interesting. People, if the kids are doing that, why do they have to go and do a university degree and spend 120,000 or whatever it is for a 4-year university? He said, you're right. He said, they can get their answers within 10 seconds. They don't have to go 4 years and do it. And so Grocky told me that the elimination of academic souls, and particularly in universities, is just going to be the gravitation pull. It's going to really pull from within, and they have to really think, and there have to be short-term courses. These really long STEM courses, photographers, musicians, anyone in promotion, marketing, and advertising, those jobs are all going to go. And it's going to be very quick with this AI. It's just unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
So once that class of public servants is taken out of the equation, we might get back to where you're coming from, John. And so, the universe provides another solution, and it's been growing from the roots up. So I take my hat off to you, John, and your group of spiritual people who have come together and networked and put this all together. It's just not the UK. We've got people in Australia and New Zealand who have met, who are really into it.
Yeah. We have our own AI. Yeah. It's someone up there. He sits up there and looks down on us and makes sure that we do things right.
It's definitely a man, is it?
No, actually, no. It's neither male nor female.
Androgynous. Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. So really what you're saying, Jeff, is that David Edelman was on the show some time back, and he has a very good definition of academic, of no practical value, of no practical use. So we're going to go back from what you're saying. If you take out all the thinking about things, the academics of it, we'll get back to grassroots. We'll get back to being practical, digging the land, doing practical things.
Well, that's what AI said.
And
The jobs will
yeah,
be tradies, farmers.
yeah,
So even people involved in the medical fraternity, they can be robots.
yeah, yeah. Because there's all this remedy does that X, Y, and Z, and it's an equation.
100%. You can see that on Star Trek with the bloody tricorders back in the 60s, to the point we have that in our little hands now with a bloody mobile phone with apps on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
we
there
go.
was,
So Back to the Future.
Well, we're really
there was one where a hologram was the Doctor, wasn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, a couple of weeks ago, I went into Brisbane. I went to a holographic display of the Giza Plateau with the pyramids. And yeah, you went for 48 minutes, and it cost about $1 a minute, but you put on the big full headset with surround sound system, and you have to sign all these waivers for bloody loss of balance, dizziness, just peripheral vision is completely different. And so they do it in 20-minute increments, but there's little batches go off. So my batch was the last three. It was a husband and wife. You put it on. They say, "Can you see the cohorts?" You see them as a white ghost with a hula hoop around their waist, so you know that you're going to get close to them. And then when you come into a wall or a pillar, it's got like the concrete mesh. So it's like a mesh thing, and it's red, and it tells you you're coming close to it. And sure enough, you put it on, and then you step, and you got these little arrows, and you got footprints, and you go to the pliff, and then the holographic guide turns up. She starts giving you the educational tour of the pyramids, and then she asks you to turn right, so you walk, and you've got to go within the blue alignment. Next second, they vibrate, they levitate, they take you up to the 8th row of pyramids, and then you step inside, and then you go up through the great gallery on a vibrating slab, and then when you get to the king's chamber, she said, "Well, you got to shift yourself through to get into the king's chamber." So the husband and wife team, they're following the guide, crouching down and going under. And I'm thinking, that's a good. It's just a hologram. Walk straight through. Anyway, I tell you, it is the most impressive. I am telling you now, it is the most impressive. 360 degrees. You see the whole perspective. Takes you up onto the top of the pyramid. You can see the desert. You can see the Nile. You can see the whole Cairo. You can see the other. It is a fantastic educational. If it ever comes out to the UK, I'm seriously recommending as an educational tool. It's just unbelievable. And you come back out, and you get a tap on the shoulder, and you've got to, well, what's going on here? Because you haven't seen that person, because they haven't got a headset on. It's the actual person saying, "You're finished now. You can take the headset off." And as you walk away, you think, "Christ, are we in a bloody simulation as well? Are we living in a simulation?" It's a real does your head in, mate, I tell you. Anyway,
sounds like fun.
I digress, but I had listened to John, so I'm just saying.
Very good digression. A simulation within a simulation.
Yeah, well, that's in Leonardo DiCaprio, isn't it? In Inception. They went through 4 different dream states to get the guy a message from. So when he came into the waking world, he would change his tune on a certain project. But we're talking about AI and the effects it's going to have on our communities, both local and countrywide and globally. So I think John is at the cusp of engineering the fact that when it decays and it's going to self-implode, it's going to go into a black hole. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be in the legal fraternity. You name every sub-industry is going to be really taken out, and it has to be coming back to the land. It's really where it's heading.
Back to the land.
Or back to something practical anyway. AI isn't going to be all that it's made out to be. There is a problem in that AI is originally programmed by people, and those people knew that they were going to be made redundant, So there's an awful lot of AI programming that should never have been in there, but they messed it up something rotten. And so what they've done now is they're fixing AI by using AI.
Yeah, that's right.
And all the mistakes are in there, and they're getting doubled up on there. So they have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, but I have to tell you, when I spoke to Grok about that, I said, on the very subject you spoke about, John, I said, this reminds me of Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Where nefarious undermined people put a piece of coding into HAL 9000, you know. So, you know, it caused that major problem with the that particular product going out to Jupiter. Yeah, so there's a lot to be said there, John. But yeah, watch the space.
Yeah, if everything is done in fairness and everything is done as according to the natural law or God's law, then we would be all right. We wouldn't have a problem. And an example of that one was when we were talking about the farmers earlier on, and there was a government department that came along to somebody's farm, and they were going to close this farm down because they were using they weren't using human fertilizer. They were using cow dung on the farm, and that was not allowed according to their rule books. And the police accompanied these people to close this farm down. And I talked to the policeman, and I said no, and I told them that the people that they're talking to at the moment don't consent to legislation, and therefore they have no way of following legislation because it's not part of their system. And I spent about 20 minutes talking to this constable, and he got it every way possible. And he escorted this government department off this bloke's land. There's good people out there in the police as well. There's good people all over the place who are helping people to live their life as they should do. And they understand. So, you know, it's putting everybody into one category and say all these people are bad. No, they're not. We've got to look for the good in people as well.
So he probably understood the fact of consent.
And he did.
Yes.
Understood that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
and that's critical.
Yeah, we've got police now joining community assemblies. So this is where this cooperation can overlap. And if the police actually understood everything that we're doing, they wouldn't have any objection to it. So I think we're taking on people now who are who understand what we're trying to do and what we're trying to do, what we're going to do. I don't think it can be stopped. What's happening now is the amount of people we're talking to. It's like a tsunami. I mean, I get up in the mornings and I've got to get up at about, if I want to be able to get through my ablutions, I've got to be able to get up at 6 o'clock. I probably haven't been into bed until 1 o'clock. It's a lot of work to do, but I've now got so many people that are doing the same thing that we're now having morning conferences at about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Well, good to.
So there is a coming together and a movement that is really
fantastic,
unparalleled or parallel to what's going on.
Yeah.
So there is a parallel society, quietly, unobtrusively, just getting on with it.
Yeah.
And building.
I made a leaflet. I think this was again about the time that you came into it, Pauline. It was, and the leaflet I was handing out was called "The Quiet Revolution."
Yes. Okay.
It doesn't need to be anything other than just say no.
Just say no.
That's interesting. Quiet revolution. I'd love to see that because, interestingly enough, that's the beginning of the natural life system that I've been following for some time. It is a quiet revolution. It's an inner peace that brings about a revolution, as in a complete turn away from that which is unfair and unjust.
our mind, we have so much power in our mind. We just need to let it go. We just need to let it take over what the teaching that we've had before. I was a wonderful person took me out to Bulgaria and took me. This was last year. Took me to the Rila Monastery out there, which was the seat, I suppose, of, I hate to call it Christianity, but that was where it mainly started from. And I was standing there at one place and I just burst into tears and I couldn't stop. And in the end, I was taken out by this person who I'm not allowed to mention because she will murder me, and came back to, we got outside and she calmed me down. And then she said, I've got to go back in and try it for myself. And she stood in the same place that I was standing at, which was in front, we found out afterwards, it was in front of the shroud, which was the shroud for the person that started the whole monastery. And the same thing happened to her. And the wonderful thing about it was that afterwards, I have a terrible fear of heights. I can't go anywhere near the edge of a cliff. Honestly, my legs just give way. I hate flying, not because of that, but because I don't like being shut in. And there's a lot of sort of bits and pieces that I had that I couldn't shake. And after that experience, about 2 days later, we were up on the mountains, and I was looking at the view from this mountain. I found I was closer to the edge of this cliff. There's about 1,000 feet drop. I was closer to the edge than I would normally have been, and my legs were fine, no problems at all. And I walked closer and closer, and then I gave a rendition of I was doing tap dancing on a rock right on the edge of the dam. I had no fear whatsoever. It had gone. And on the flight home, exactly the same thing happened. I had no fear at all, and I don't think I've experienced fear since. And this is what holds us back, is fear.
So there's the quiet revolution.
That's the quiet revolution, yes. So anybody goes to Bulgaria, visit the Rila Monastery.
Rila, R-I-L-L-A.
That's it, that's the one.
Okay, Rila Monastery, here we come.
Yeah, Jeff's going to have a problem, but okay, we'll throw a lifeline out to it.
I'll just go astral travel, check it out.
Astral travel,
okay,
yeah.
very good. Astral travel will do the job.
Oh, yeah,
John, it's always a delight to talk to you. I just wanted to know, as we draw to the end of this interview, I can see from and hear from what you've been saying that there is a profound amount of optimism and hope for the future, but it's quiet. It's not celebrating. It's not all guns blazing. It's just like nature, just carrying on. The trees don't stop growing. There's a constant movement toward harmony. And would you say that that's something that people can invest in?
People who join us tend to end up no fear.
No fear.
Taking back their I was going to say sovereignty, but sovereignty is the wrong word, because that's just promoting people up into something which they are not. But taking back their self-governance.
Self-governance.
And it's we're happy. I mean, there's nothing anybody could do to me that will make me unhappy. Having experienced a few things, I wouldn't. If they came out and bashed down the door and carted me off to prison, I would just enjoy the experience. I just don't have that ability to experience fear anymore. And there's a lot of people within our groups now who feel the same way. If they come across anything which is giving them fear, which is bringing their mood down, No, we'll just take one of my bad jokes and pass it on. That'll do.
So would you like to finish on a very bad joke?
No, you wouldn't have any. You wouldn't have any viewers left.
No problem, mate.
Okay.
Is that it?
Okay.
No? Is that the joke?
No. I'm not going to bore you with any of my jokes. They're spontaneous anyway, and I usually forgot about them about 2 days later. So I can never remember what I said.
So you haven't got a book of jokes.
No.
So there's a great to listen to you, John. I feel so delighted to have joined CABI. You make so much sense to me. Very good. Well, that's not a joke, but that's and I want to do more for our community. I'm a facilitator on Portland. Do you know where Portland is?
I think that was for you, Jeff.
Dorset. So the momentum is there, momentum's building, and well done for you for grounding it without being too etheric and spiritual. But people who do work and put everything in place, the engineers are essential.
Yeah,
Donald
Duck lives in Portland, doesn't he? That's why they call it Portland Bill.
Righto, jolly good.
Now you've got your bad joke.
Very bad joke, yeah. Very good. Thank you very much for joining us, John. It's a delight, and keep on doing what you're doing and keep spreading the word. And we'll meet in a parallel universe not too soon.
And lovely to meet you, Jeff.
Yeah, you're welcome, John. I'll send you the links.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.